Welcome to Politics News Wolf US channel. This offensive covers all front lines and also includes two critical targets, Bamo and Crimea. Both these regions are of vital importance to the Ukrainian army at the ending the Russian presence in Bakhmut is important for demoralizing the Russian army and stopping the Russian advance. The capture of Crimea is very important because the Russian army will not be able to provide ammunition and weapons to its troops in Ukraine, and it is seen as a move that will end the war. Today we will tell you about the possibilities of taking back the Crimea and the developments related to this issue. Let's examine the Ukrainian army's attacks on Crimea, the Russian army's moves, and the developments in the region. The morning explosion in the Feta region of the Russian-controlled Crimea caused serious concern among the Russian military and authorities. Despite the fact that the Russian air defense systems clearly detected the Ukrainian missile that was expected to attack the Feta region, its inability to intervene caused a Russian military assembly area to be hit. And according to preliminary reports, 10 Russian soldiers died. Afterwards, many questions arose about the attack itself. It was not disclosed what kind of weapon Ukraine used in this attack because according to Russian officials, Ukraine does not have a weapon capable of such long-range attacks. However, the attack could have been carried out with the long-range UK cruise tactical missile Storm Shadow, or the Ukrainian tactical missile system, Grom-2. It's no big secret that the UK Defense Ministry has given Storm Shadows to the Ukrainian. Russian officials initially thought that the explosive packed Tu-141 Swift drone was used for the attack, but it was a missile that hits the military assembly area. If the Ukrainian army started using tactical missiles with a range of more than 250 kilometers, it would mean the beginning of the end for the Russian troops in Crimea. So far, neither the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation, nor the Ukrainian General Staff has made an official statement on this. But this attack has shown that Ukraine has improved itself in long-range attacks and that the Russian air defense systems are ineffective once again. Russian troops in the Russian-controlled Crimea are reportedly preparing for the anticipated spring counter-offensive from Kiev, which aims to break through Moscow's lines in southern Ukraine and endanger the strategic peninsula. Russian troops stretching along the 800-mile front have been preparing new defensive positions for several, awaiting Ukraine's next counter-attack while advancing bloody attacks in the Donbas region with its new modern weapons and the help of troops trained by its Western partners. Kiev hopes to maximize the Russians' defensive losses by exhausting Moscow's units before they break through their offensive lines. It is not known exactly where the Ukrainian counter-offensive will fall. Kiev is closely guarding all details of the anticipated operation and the recent leak of classified Pentagon intelligence materials may force Ukrainian commanders to change their plans. Crimea is and will remain an important war target of Ukraine. It's controlled by Russian little green men. In 2014 marked a hot new phase in Moscow's long-standing efforts to control Ukraine. Despite misgivings among foreign partners, Ukrainian leaders have consistently said that they intend to completely liberate the peninsula. Andrei Zegar, who served as Ukraine's defense minister from 2019 to 2020 and is now an advisor to the Zelensky government, said that Russia's construction activity in Crimea is not a Of course, the Russians are trying to fortify their defenses, but it's not clear that this will work because we are not in the early 20th century, and physical fortifications are like missile attacks, airstrikes, etc., will be attacked from the air. How will these fortifications withstand such intense attacks? Given the current firepower of the Ukrainian army, the Russian fortifications cannot be expected to be so decisive. It is therefore too early to tell when Ukrainian troops can liberate the peninsula. So what exactly are the points that the Russians take? Precautions. The latest satellite images released show an extensive network of Russian fortifications being built on the Crimean Peninsula and on approach from Russian-controlled southern Ukraine. Russian troops control a land bridge stretching from the Dnieper River to Russia's borders with vital land links running through the cities of Melitopol and Mariupol. The corridor is one of the Kremlin's few tangible achievements in the war. Beyond these Russian-controlled parts of southern Ukraine, Crimea is separated from the mainland by the Isthmus of Peko just over 4 miles at its widest point. Only the M17 and M18 highways enter Crimea from the north, while the western M17 is currently surrounded by Russian trenches and fortifications. The eastern M18 could be effectively closed by demolishing a single bridge. Russian planners have focused on such choke points. For example, the small town of Medvedka lies just south of the crucial bridge of the M18. There Russian engineers set up a network of trenches, several miles long, to protect the defending infantry. These trenches are reinforced with trenches designed to block and trap heavy armor and other vehicle. Moscow's troops also appear to be on the lookout for amphibious attacks, but Ukrainian forces are unlikely to make such a significant landing. Russian troops built several trenches and firing positions, including ones for artillery along the coasted Tino. On the west coast of Crimea, published satellite images also showed the reinforcement of defenses around the Russian Silvitopol naval base at the southwestern tip of the peninsula, a key strategic location that played a central role in Moscow's 2014 takeover of Crimea. The more serious problem is the sheer complexity of geolocation. The marshy lands that connects the peninsula limits limited access options to the mainland and from the attacks of the Ukrainian forces should continue for some time without interruption to erode the Russians' positions. Ukrainians are too competent to risk launching suicide attacks against such a narrow front line. They need to soften the physical characteristics of the Russian defense lines. So how is the Russian army reinforcing its troops in Crimea? Moscow took a new defensive posture in southern Ukraine after its withdrawal from Khan in November, and used the Dnieper River as a barrier to stop Ukrainian troops. While Russian troops focused on reinforcing parts of Khan and Zia provinces under their control. Recent troop movements show that the Russians are preparing for defense in the region. It was reported that main battle tanks, infantry, fighting vehicles, and heavy weapons were sent to the interior points of Crimea from a Russian base in the north of Crimea. Russian authorities clarified their preparations. Sergei Iov, who was appointed head of Crimea by the Kremlin last month, said that fortification construction continued with an unconventional and asymmetrical approach due to the experience of armed hostility. OVV, it is better to be safe than sorry, and I always say, if you want peace, prepare for war. Therefore, it is better for us to be ready. He said that Crimean and all other Russians can sleep soundly on this. Dmitry Medvedev, the former Prime Minister-President, and now deputy head of Russia's Security Council, warned in March that Moscow would use absolutely any weaponry to stop Ukraine from liberating Crimea. Medvedev, they're preparing for an attack. Everybody knows that our general staff is calculating this and preparing its own solutions. He said Ukrainian forces are trying to disrupt daily life on the peninsula as much as possible. More than 70 Ukrainian attacks have taken place in Crimea since August 2022, most of them targeting military sites and critical infrastructure. Instead of capturing the entire peninsula, a successful counterattack could mean liberating enough territory in southern Ukraine to bring Crimea's main supply lines under fire control. Logistics has already been constrained by the attack on the KSH Strait Bridge last year, and long-range attacks in southern Ukraine and Kiev will seek to further isolate the Russian army's grouping on the peninsula. Thank you for watching the video. If you find it useful, please comment and share the video for us. It will make our channel more known. See you in the following videos. Thank you very much.